Have you ever looked at a new business, maybe an online brand, and just thought, wow, they've really got it figured out?
But then maybe a few years later, they just sort of vanish.
It happens all the time.
Or the flip side, right? You see a brand start small, purely online, and then suddenly they explode. They're even opening physical stores.
Yeah, that trajectory is fascinating too.
It's a challenge, really, as old as commerce itself, but it feels especially interesting today with the whole direct-to-consumer or D2C model evolving.
Absolutely. Those brands that tried to, cut out the middleman and sell straight to us.
Exactly. But was that promise, that direct line, always what it seemed cracked up to be? And what are the hidden pitfalls under that sleek website?
That's the big question, isn't it?
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together some really insightful sources to try and unpack this. We've got an Investopedia article, 4 Common Reasons a Small Business Fails. Kind of gives us that baseline.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
Then there's a big market report from IMARC Group on the D2C market size and trends up to 2033. Gives us the scale.
Okay. And to really get into what makes some D2C brands win, we looked at a Statsig blog post, the top 5 things we learned from studying D2C leaders.
Oh, interesting. So what the winners do.
Right. And finally, we're pulling a lot from eMarketer. They had an article, Why Digitally Native Brands Struggle Without Traditional Retail Strategies, and also a great Reimagining Retail deep dive discussion that really gets into the D2C story with expert interviews.
Sounds like a good mix of sources, foundational stuff, market data, and then the specifics of D2C's success and failure.
Exactly. Our mission today is basically to cut through the noise, pull out the surprising bits, the key insights, so you could be really well informed about, business survival in this modern retail world. Think of it as your shortcut.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so let's unpack this, starting with the broader picture. Why do businesses, especially small ones, fail in the first place? It kind of sets the stage, because even though D2C seemed new, it maybe just repackaged some old problems.
It's a pretty sobering reality, actually. That Investopedia article, 4 Common Reasons a Small Business Fails, it cites the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the numbers are stark.
Yeah.
Over 20% of small businesses, they don't even make it past the first year.
Wow, 1 in 5.
And if you look longer term, like companies started back in 2013, only about 35% were still going strong 10 years later in 2023.
So roughly 2/3 failed over a decade.
Exactly. That's a huge amount of effort, hope, and, money down the drain.
So what are the main culprits Investopedia points to?
They list 4 common reasons, and it's interesting how they echo in the D2C world. First up, financing hurdles.
Okay. Money problems.
Yeah.
Seems obvious.
Right, but it's not just lacking startup cash, that's part of it. It's also running out of working capital, like money for payroll or rent, or owners just being too optimistic about revenue, or maybe pricing things too low, and just getting that initial funding from VCs, angels, even banks. It's tough. For D2C, this often shows up later as the just massive cost of acquiring customers online.
Okay, so financing is number 1. What's next?
Number 2 is a lack of management skills. An owner might be brilliant at making the product right, but if they don't have the business sense to handle finances or hire well or market effectively...
Yeah, the business can just fall apart.
Exactly. Investopedia mentions, citing the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, that outsourcing things like IT, HR, payroll can help. Let the owner focus on operations.
Makes sense. Know your weaknesses.
Right. Third is an ineffective business plan. Sounds basic, I know.
But crucial.
Absolutely. Investopedia stresses it needs to be clear. Describe the business, who you need to hire now and later, what are the market opportunities, the threats, how much capital you need, cash flow projections, marketing plans.
The whole roadmap.
Without it, you're basically just flying blind, reacting instead of steering.
Okay, financing, management, planning. What's the 4th?
Marketing mishaps. This is a big one, especially for D2C. Companies often just don't budget enough for marketing realistically in their financial projections.
So they run out of money for ads.
Or they can't shift money around when a campaign isn't working, or a new opportunity pops up. If you can't reach and convert customers effectively, even a great product will just sit there. This becomes a huge, expensive trap for online-only brands relying on digital ads.
That's a really helpful foundation. So these are the classic hurdles. Now, GDC came along promising this direct connection, maybe bypassing some of that, but was that maybe a bit naive? Did it just create its own unique challenges?
That's a great way to put it because, yeah, D2C offered new ways to connect, but it definitely wasn't a magic wand. Many early brands found that out the hard way, but the market itself, it's absolutely exploded. That IMARC group report on the D2C market, it paints a really clear picture.
Yeah, what are the numbers?
So globally, the D2C market was valued at, get this, $583.48 billion in 2024.
Wow.
And it's projected to just skyrocket to $250.28 billion by 2033.
That's huge growth.
It's a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of about 17.3% between 2025 and 2033. Huge. And North America's leading the way, holding over 38.5% of the market in 2024. The U.S. alone is like 92% of that North American share.
So it's massive, growing fast. What's driving that, according to IMARC?
Well, a few key things. Increasing digitalization, obviously. Consumers wanting more personalized experiences. Brands liking the cost efficiency of, cutting out intermediaries. And building stronger customer relationships through that direct interaction.
Okay, so on paper, it looks like a dream scenario for these online-first brands.
It really did.
But here's where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
That initial promise versus how things actually played out for many D2C brands. Those early digitally native brands,
Yeah.
the DNVBs.
Yeah.
They were born online, no stores.
Right.
Their whole vision was cutting out retailers, getting better margins, talking directly to customers.
Exactly. Steve Dennis from Sageberry Consulting talked about this in that eMarketer Reimagining Retail deep dive. He said these new brands had a big advantage starting out.
How so?
They started with the latest tech. They could build everything integrated, with the customer right at the center, unlike older retailers who were often stuck with legacy systems and channel conflicts. It was a clean slate, really.
But there's always a but.
There is. Many of them hit a wall pretty quickly. That eMarketer article, Why Digitally Native Brands Struggle, explains it well. Those online-only growth strategies, they started to sputter because customer acquisition costs just kept going up and up.
Ah, back to those marketing mishaps and financing hurdles, just in a digital form.
Yeah, precisely. Susie David-Kanian, an eMarketer analyst, put it pretty bluntly. She said there were so many costs to a digitally native brand that I think were lost on people. It wasn't just the ad click. It was logistics, returns, the sheer cost of fighting for attention online.
Yeah, I can see that.
And eMarketer's forecast from March 2023 really showed the contrast. Established brands, like Nike, right? They were projected to make over $134 billion in D2C e-commerce sales in 2023.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the purely digitally native brands, just under $35 billion.
Whoa. That's like 4 times less for the DNVBs.
Exactly. The big established players learned how to play the D2C game, and they had the brand recognition and the capital to really make it work, kind of turning the tables.
That's a huge gap. It really shows that just being online first isn't the whole story, is it?
Not at all.
So if that pure play D2C dream wasn't the guaranteed path, what is the secret sauce? What are the successful D2C brands doing differently? It can't just be about having a website.
No, absolutely not. It seems the real key is being incredibly data-driven, like almost scientific about understanding the customer. That Statsig blog post, the top 5 things we learned from studying D2C leaders, really digs into this.
Okay.
It shows that the leaders aren't guessing. They're using systematic testing, experimentation, data, constantly refining things. There's a quote from Vijay Subramanian at Rent the Runway. He basically says, most importantly, run experiments. Have a culture of experimentation. It's the good old scientific method.
So less guesswork, more testing. What did Statsig find were the common themes?
They found 5 consistent things these leaders do. First, they are relentlessly reducing friction for first-time conversions.
Making it super easy to buy the first time.
Exactly. Streamlining sign-up, checkout. They test everything. Like, is a single-page form better than multi-step? Does saying 2,459 purchase today work better than 15% off your first purchase? Just making that first yes as smooth as possible.
Makes sense. Get them in the door easily. What's second?
Second, they focus on localizing experiences, making the site feel relevant wherever the customer is.
So not a one-size-fits-all approach globally.
Right. Region-specific products, different languages, testing local payment methods like Alipay in China. Wyatt Thompson from Dollar Shave Club said something great. Experimentation is valuable because it helps us verify our assumptions. Without experimentation, we're just releasing into the wild.
You can't assume New York preferences work in Tokyo.
Okay, friction reduction, localization. What else?
Third, they prioritize product discovery to boost average order value, AOV.
Meaning help people find more stuff they might want to buy. Precisely. Standard website navigation can bury things. So they experiment with search like semantic search versus just keyword matching.
Yeah.
And using dynamic suggestions like complete the look or you might also like to intelligently guide people and increase that basket size.
Smart. Getting more value from each visit. Number 4.
Fourth is keeping retention high with tailored recommendations. We talked about how expensive new customers are, right?
Yeah, the acquisition cost problem.
So leaders invest heavily in keeping the customers they have. Testing subtle nudges on the homepage, loyalty points, different ways to recommend products, often focusing on getting a repeat purchase within, say, 28 days. Anu Verma from CareOff mentioned they started thinking much more seriously about higher-level experimentation versus just simply running an email program, building that long-term relationship.
Right. Retention is cheaper than acquisition. And the 5th theme.
Finally, they have a plan to win back dormant customers. People drift away. It happens. But the leaders don't just give up. They use data to figure out what messaging might work. Like testing, welcome back, here's 20% off, versus we saved your favorites. It's an active strategy to reactivate people.
That all sounds very methodical. Lots of testing and learning.
It is. It's about continuous improvement driven by data.
Okay, let's connect that to some real brands. The eMarketer reimagining retail discussion mentioned some D2C success stories. How do these principles work for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Hims was one example Steve Dennis brought up as doing really well.
Hims, right, the wellness brand.
Yeah. They found a really specific, differentiated niche sexual wellness telehealth. That set them apart right away. But key to their success is the subscription model.
Oh, recurring revenue.
Exactly. It smooths out revenue, reduces that constant pressure for new sales. Plus, they have really high gross margins, like 82, 83% in Q2 2023, and their shipping costs are low because the packages are tiny.
Smart.
And crucially, Hims didn't stay purely D2C. They expanded into wholesale with Target, showing that direct doesn't have to mean only direct.
That's a key point, the hybrid approach. Who else?
Warby Parker was another one Susie David Kanian highlighted. They started way back in 2010.
The eyewear brand, yeah.
They tackled a real consumer pain point, the high cost of glasses. And they used data brilliantly, that home try-on service. That was genius, addressing a huge friction point for buying glasses online back then.
Totally changed the game.
And they used their shipping data to figure out the best places to put their physical stores now, over 200 of them. Smart synergy between online and offline. Plus, they've expanded into sunglasses, contacts, even eye exams. And Steve Dennis noted their branding is powerful, creating a real sense of affiliation.
So for both Hims and Warby Parker, it's about solving a real problem, using data smartly, and not being afraid to blend online and offline.
Exactly. It's a much more nuanced picture than just sell online.
Okay, but we learned just as much, maybe more, from the struggles, right? What about brands that stumbled? The eMarketer discussion touched on those too.
Oh, definitely. Learning what not to do is critical. Steve Dennis had some harsh words for Allbirds, potentially calling it the WeWork of retail.
Ouch. What went wrong there?
Well, they apparently tried to become a big lifestyle brand too quickly. They poured money into opening their own stores instead of building wholesale partnerships first, which is often a more capital-efficient way to scale.
Misjudging the path to scale.
Seems like it. Plus, execution mistakes with new product lines, inventory problems. It led to big challenges. Now they're shifting back towards prioritizing wholesale. Dennis suggested maybe a bit of arrogance and lack of awareness crept in, that belief that their D2C model was inherently superior.
A cautionary tale.
Who else?
Susie David Kanian mentioned Glossier as a brand needing to up its game.
Glossier, yeah, big beauty brand. It started strong with community.
Right. Founded in 2014, great community focus initially, but they ran into issues. Product assortment felt limited, leadership changes, some sustainability questions, and just a lack of newness.
Stagnation. Maybe. And they seemed stuck trying to define themselves. Were they drugstore or prestige? That kind of unclear positioning is a marketing mishap. Now, they're also moving into wholesale with the Sephora and rethinking their stores. Sarah LeBeau made a great point about this. It's one thing to build an exciting brand. It's another thing to build a lasting brand.
That really hits home. So looking at these struggles, what are the common threads, the pitfalls DNVBs fall into?
Well, pulling from that eMarketer discussion, a few things stand out. Steve Dennis mentioned that hype often gets concentrated in what he called D2C ghettos, like certain trendy neighborhoods in big cities.
Like Soho or Williamsburg, yeah.
Right. But that buzz doesn't necessarily translate to broad, profitable scale across the country or the world. It can be an echo chamber.
Interesting point. What else?
Ignoring what Dennis called immutable forces in retail, like the fact that online only often means super high return rates. Physical stores can really help with that. Try-ons, easy returns.
All right, the practicalities.
And Susie David Kanyan pointed out a key misstep: believing customers actually care where they buy. Mostly, they just want the products they want, wherever is convenient. They don't necessarily champion the channel.
So brands got too focused on being DTC instead of just being where the customer is.
Pretty much. And finally, this idea that retail used to be more of an art, but now it's art plus science. You absolutely need the data, the analytics, to scale properly and succeed long-term. It ties right back to the Statsig findings about experimentation.
It really does. So wrapping this up, the core lesson seems to be that this DTC landscape, while full of potential, is incredibly dynamic. Success isn't just about having a website or a cool Instagram feed.
Not even close.
It's about that solid foundation, managing those core business challenges we talked about at the start, being data-driven, agile, and using all the tools available, including traditional retail strategies.
Exactly. That direct connection D2C offers is powerful, and the growth potential is huge, as that IMARC report shows. But sustained success, that needs solid planning, that rigorous testing culture, and the willingness to adapt, often by blending in traditional retail, like we saw with Hims, Warby Parker, and now Glossier and Allbirds are pivoting towards. The Investopedia basics still apply, and the eMarketer insights show how they play out specifically for D2C.
It really seems the most successful direct-to-consumer brands are the ones who evolve past just being direct.
Precisely. They understand that being direct doesn't mean being exclusive to one channel.
Right. So the ultimate success isn't just about where they sell, is it? It's about how deeply they understand and follow their customer's journey, whether that's online, in-store, through a partner, maybe everywhere. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What does direct-to-consumer really mean anymore when success seems to increasingly rely on being indirectly available through partners and embracing this truly omnichannel world? Maybe the next evolution of DTC is really just being everywhere for the consumer.